Hi kids. These are snap cubes. Okay, snap cubes. You should remember these from elementary school. A lot of teachers put these away after second or third grade and don't get them out because they don't really think there's much you can do with them. But the truth is, you can do a whole lot of mathematics with these snap cubes and a ruler. Okay, so anyways, let's get started here. All right, these are snap cubes, and you should have a total of 10 of them in your train, which is what they call that, and you should have a ruler as well. All right, so anyways, next, take your cubes apart and line them up like this. Okay, so you're just going to very carefully take your cubes apart and put them in a nice neat little line. Okay, you'll notice that you might have to twist them a little bit in order to get them apart. All right, there we go. So put them in a little line like that. It's kind of a wiggly line, okay? And then you got your ruler handy here, okay? Now, pick up one cube and your ruler and measure in centimeters. So find the centimeter edge of your ruler, and that's what you're going to be measuring in, okay? So you have one cube. I'm going to kind of slide those off to the side here, okay? And we're going to do some measurement on one cube. Measure, when you measure to the nearest full centimeter, okay? So you're going to be measuring to the nearest full centimeter, okay? So if it's close to 1 centimeter, you'll round it to 1 centimeter. It might be a little below or above, but you'll round it to the nearest full centimeter, okay? And that's going to be important, okay? Now, what I'd like you to do is, what is the length and what is the width of one cube face? So, you know, most people like to say this is the top because that's where the peg is. So what I want you to do is pause the video and measure to the nearest full centimeter the length and the width, okay? The length and the width, okay? So you'd have your length and your width. Pick whichever ones you want, okay? Go ahead and do that. Pause the video. Okay, so now you have an understanding of about what the dimensions are. So what I'd like you to do now is figure out the perimeter of one entire face, okay? Measure to the nearest full centimeter. Okay, now, you probably don't even need your ruler from this point on, but it's there in case you need it, okay? So what would the perimeter be? I'll pause the video, and you take the measurement and answer the question. All right, well, now that we've gone over the perimeter, what would the area of one face be? Whether it's the top face, the front face, the side face, what would the area of it be? And you're doing this in square centimeters. Okay? All right, so anyways, you probably came up with the answer and you probably said to yourself, well, this is about 4 square centimeters because it measures 2 by 2. All right, now if you look at it, that it's not quite 2 full centimeters, is it? But it is really close. It's within a millimeter. So it would be logical to say that this is a 2 by 2 setup. So you have 2 times 2 is 4, and you get the area of 4 square centimeters. Okay, just remember, you are rounding, which is going to affect your measurements, okay? Continue to assume each cube is 2 centimeters by 2 centimeters by 2 centimeters, okay? Now, what is the surface area of this cube, including this top part? Even though it has the peg sticking out like that, it would still be one of the surfaces or one of the faces of the cube, okay? So why don't you pause the video and see if you can figure out the surface area of this one cube. Okay. Well, if you pick 24, you are correct because you would have 4 square centimeters on each face, and a cube has 6 faces, so 6 times 4 is 24. Okay, and that's an estimate. All right, now put 2 cubes together like this and notice the pegs. So you're going to take this cube and another cube and you're going to put them together like so. Okay, notice how the peg is pointing in this direction. Okay, that's going to be kind of important from here on out. All right, so as you put the cubes together, you will notice a growth in the measurements. Now, the growth is sometimes a positive growth, or it's a negative growth, okay? So you'll notice that as you measure these with a ruler and you estimate, that there's going to be a big difference in what the actual measurement is and what your estimate is, okay? But because we know this is 2 by 2 by 2, you can pretty much come up with any measurement just based on that knowledge, all right? So, anyways, measure the length of two cubes together. Okay, so you're going to take your ruler this time, and this is important. Okay, you're going to measure the length of these two cubes, okay, using your ruler, okay? So go ahead and do that. I'll pause the video. You pause the video. All right. Well, if you measured the length of these two cubes using your ruler, you probably saw that it actually came up to about 2 7/10. Okay, about 2 7 or 3 7/10. I'm sorry, not quite 4, huh? So it came out to 3 7/10, and you might be thinking, well, that should be 4 because these are each about 2, but because of the way they're designed, those measurements will change, all right, and they will change in a negative direction, okay? So the length is actually less than the 4 centimeters you might think that it is, if you're being very precise. But we're rounding to the nearest full centimeter. So from here on out, assume that each cube is 2 centimeters by 2 centimeters by 2 centimeters, okay? So there's 2 centimeters by 2 centimeters by 2 centimeters, or each cube has a length of 2, a width of 2, and a height of 2. Okay, so just assume that. You can almost put your ruler away for now as I go over some more stuff related to this, okay? And again, 3 cubes you would think would equal 6 centimeters, but when you measure 3 cubes, you'll notice that it doesn't come up at 6 centimeters, it actually comes up at 5 5/10 centimeters. Okay, so you can see where we had some negative growth. When you go on and you look at 5 cubes, you'll notice that 5 cubes doesn't come in at 10 centimeters. It actually comes in at about 9 1/2 or 9 4/10 centimeters. All right, so you've got to keep that in mind. You can certainly say, well, 5 cubes is about 10 centimeters, but just remember that your measurements are always going to be approximate, rounded to the nearest full centimeter. So you're kind of rounding up as you estimate. So anyways, what is the surface area of this set of 2 cubes? Okay, so what would the surface area be for this set of cubes? All right, and you could measure, estimate, whatever you need to do, but remember, you have this surface area from here to here, you have this side, the bottom, this side, and don't forget this side. Pause the video and see if you can figure out the surface area of 2 cubes. Well, how did you do? Did you come up with a pretty good answer? You should have 40, because you have 4, and then you have another 4, so that's 8, and then 4 times 8 is 32, because you have 1, 2, 3, 4, and then there's 4 here, 32, which would be another 4 here, so you'd have 8, so that would give you 40, okay? So that's how you figure out. All right, next one. Add 3 more cubes, put them on just like this, and notice the pegs, okay? So you're going to take 3 more cubes, okay? And notice how I'm orienting my pegs, okay? I'm going to snap one on like this, okay? And then I'm going to snap one on like this. And then I'm going to snap the third one on like that, okay? So this is what you've made, okay? So it goes like this, this, and then the peg fits out like that, okay? All right, now you can see this little gap in here. that little gap in there would take into account that it's a little smaller than 2 full centimeters. So they would assume, the manufacturer would assume, that as kids put these together, you would add a millimeter in between each one of those, so it would really keep your measurements closer to what you would be rounding them to. Okay? All right, so now that we have that shape in place, what is the surface area of this shape? A little bit more tricky. There's a number of ways that you can solve it, but see if you can't figure out the total surface area of this shape. Be sure you do the top, the bottom, the front, the back sides, the right side, and the left side. Okay? Pause the video and see if you can come up with the correct surface area. All right, well, let's see how you did. Did you come up with a total of 88 square centimeters? Because that's what this has a surface area of if you actually figured it correctly. It should be about 88 square centimeters. Remember, that's rounded up, all right, because we said each one of these faces is 4 square centimeters. So you'd have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That would be 20 on that side, on the top, and then 20 on the bottom. There's 40 right away, and then you'd have these 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 16. So you can see where you would come up with 88 square centimeters. I hope I said 88 square centimeters earlier. Did I say 80 or 88? It should be 88. All right. So anyways, we're going to add 3 more cubes. Notice the pegs and be very, very accurate. So we're going to add 3 more cubes. So we're going to take 1, 2, and a third one like that. Okay, so they're going to go onto our shape like this. Snap it in like so. Snap it in like so. And then this one is going to snap in like that, and the peg is going to point in that direction. Okay? All right, so now we've got this set up. Okay? What is the surface area of this shape? Okay? Remember, you have a top, and then you have the bottom. You have a front. You have the front, then you have the back. You have a right side and a left side. Remember, this is considered one of the faces. Why don't you pause the video and see if you can figure out the surface area of that shape. Well, how did you do? Did you come up with an answer of 136 square centimeters? That's an estimate. It's an overestimate, but it should be about 136 square centimeters. Okay? So now what we're going to do is we're going to add 2 more cubes, okay, because that will give us 10. We have 8 so far. Notice the pegs. We're going to take this cube, we're going to put it there, and we're going to take this cube, and we're going to set it up like that, okay? So this is what you have now, all right? That's what you have, all right? Now, again, what is the surface area of this shape? This whole entire shape. Why don't you pause the video and see if you can figure it out? Oh, okay, well, let's see how you did. The surface area of all those snapped together is 168 square centimeters, which, if you think about it, isn't that hard to come up with, because you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That would be 40 just on the top. Flip it over, you have another 40 here, so that's 80, and then you just have to come up with the surface area of those, okay? So it's really not that amazing. It might sound like 168 is a lot, but when you actually figure out how you're estimating 4 square centimeters per cube, then it adds up quickly, okay? Now, from here on out, you will be shifting your shape into new shapes. Be careful as you do it, because as you shift it, it might want to pop off, okay? And if that happens, put it back on exactly the way it popped off, okay? Now, carefully shift your shape into this new shape. So you're simply going to take your shape shifter, and all you're going to do is rotate this into that new shape. So now you've just lost several faces, haven't you? Okay? So if we put that together like that, the next question is, what is is the surface area of this shape? Okay, so why don't you pause the video and see if you can come up with the surface area of that shape. All right? Well, how did you do? Did you account for all of the surface area? I mean, again, because this is 4 square centimeters, and you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So this top is 40. That's 40 there. The front, if you look at the front, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's 24. So in order to get the answer to that shape, you added up all of them, and you probably came up with 152 square centimeters. All right, if you're correct. All right. Now we're going to carefully shift it into another new shape. Not too hard to do this, okay? It should be hinged right here, so you're going to simply twist it up like that, okay? So there's your new shape, okay? If you're looking at it from the front, you've got this up off your desk, so this rises up. You've got some space there, okay? You got a little brace, a little L shape here, all right? So this is what it looks like. You shifted it into this shape. I don't know if that helps or not, but there it is, okay? All you did was take this and rotate it up like that, okay? So now the question is, what is the surface area of this shape? A little bit more tricky. Pause the video and see if you can come up with the answer. Well, how'd you do? Hopefully you came up with 168 square centimeters, okay? And this was a little bit more tricky. You kind of had to like say, okay, here's the top. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 times 4 is 32. And of course, if you flip it over on the bottom, you'd have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, also, or 7. So you'd flip it over and you'd add them up. And so you could do it that way, all right? Now we're going to shift it into another shape. So carefully shift your shape into this, okay? You're going to take this and you're going to rotate it like that, okay? Then you're going to take this and rotate it up like that, okay? And so now it's closed off up here, and this is what you're looking at, okay? That's what you're looking at. Why don't you pause the video and find the area of that shape, okay? All right, well, how did you do? Did you come up with 160 square centimeters for this shape? If you did, you came up with the right answer, okay? So anyways, we're about done with our shape shifter, but I have one more challenge for you. Can you shift your shape to an approximate height of 10 centimeters? Can you take this and shift it and fold it so that it measures 10 centimeters off the ground? All right? Why don't you pause the video, and when you figured out whether you can or can't do it, start the video up again. Pause the video, and good luck. Well, how'd you do, kids? Did you get it to go up at least 10 centimeters in height? Hopefully you could, because you could do that, all right? Anyways, that's the end of this video and this lesson on snap cubes, okay? Maybe I'll challenge you to make your own shape shifter to see if you can't get as little surface area as possible with it, but having it one connected item, like so. There you go. Bye, kids.